Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me here. My name is Sergeant Patrick Campbell. I'm a medic in the Army National Guard, and I serve as the Congressional Liaison for the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. It's been about 1 year and 10 days since I got home from Iraq. For me, Iraq seems like a distant memory, but when I come to things like this and I listen to stories, it brings back some really hard memories. On March 18, 2005, we were driving down a road, and I earned my first, the dubious distinction of being hit by my first IED. The IED exploded about 5 feet from my Humvee and took chunks out of the door. The concussion was so loud that my ears were ringing for days. Thankfully, our Humvee's armor took the full brunt of the blast, and like everyone else, I was happy that we had said our prayers before the patrol because no one was seriously injured. When we returned to base, I forced all the people in my Humvee to get their ears checked. It had become my unofficial standard operating procedure because of so many people having ears ringing. I was told that I had slight hemorrhaging in my ear, and sadly that this was common among soldiers who had been affected by IEDs. While I was in Iraq, we were hit 12 times by IEDs, mortars, gunfire, rockets, etc. As a medic, I treated horrific injuries, such as an Iraqi police officer was shot 12 times. And I had to watch helplessly while 4 other people died in my arms. The soldiers who I served with are a proud bunch. They were from the Louisiana National Guard. I'm talking deep south here. They would only ask for help in the most dire of circumstances. And usually it would be in the form of a whisper, so that no one knew that they had asked. The soldiers in my unit fought with distinction and fought honorably. And in my mind, they earned, and let me repeat, earned the right to be taken care of by the Department of Veterans Affairs. The Department of Veterans Affairs calls it seamless transition. It seems to be much more like a mission statement than a statement of reality. Sadly, if a soldier returns from Iraq and seeks help from the Department of Veterans Affairs, his or her bureaucratic battle has just begun. Soldiers can expect to wait years to have their claims adjudicated, and this is simply unacceptable. Now soldiers are hearing that the VA has been grossly underfunded because of calculations, that they did not know how many veterans would actually be asking for their services. I have a reality check. The VA hasn't seen anything yet. Veterans haven't even begun to scratch the surface on the demands of the VA. Now, the IAVA is not the VFW or the American Legion, and I defer to my friends who put together the independent budget for dealing with issues of backlog and budgeting. They do an amazing work, and I commend that to you, the panelists here, because we can never put something together like that. But I am here to talk about 2 issues that are really important to me: post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury. When I returned home from Iraq and was in the process of demobilization, I was given a survey that was designed to test for symptoms for post-traumatic stress disorder. We were briefed to be as candid as possible, but if we answered yes to any of the questions, we would be held over, meaning that all our buddies would go home and we would stay there. I don't need to tell anyone in the room how everyone answered that survey. Experts agree that symptoms of post-traumatic stress can take up to 6 months to 1 year to begin to manifest. Thankfully, the Department of Defense got a clue and has begun to require post-traumatic stress screening for soldiers 6 months and 1 year after they return. However, this mandate only affects units that start coming home in March of 2006. Sadly, 6 months too late for my unit coming home to Louisiana. To this day, I still have nightmares and swerve away from trash on the side of the road. I also get phone calls from members of my unit who can't explain why they can't keep a job, can't sleep at night, are depressed for days at a time, and their relationship with their wives are struggling. Of course, I instantaneously defer them to the various counseling services, but like I said, these are proud people, and asking for help is not a part of their way of life. It is manifestly unacceptable that the Department of Defense is triaging the post-traumatic stress problem by ignoring those of us who have been home for a minute. And when DoD drops the ball, it becomes the VA who must step up and take control, because left unchecked, the soldiers are paying the price. I say to you, congressmen and congresswomen that are here, we must begin screening all soldiers who served overseas, 6 months and a year, no matter how long ago they got home. Now, traumatic brain injury. When a soldier escapes a rocket-propelled grenade or an IED explodes under a Humvee, the blast can cause a soldier's brain to slam against the inside of his skull. This is traumatic brain injury, and the result can be severe brain damage. Even in milder cases, dizziness, vision impairment, hearing, or speech problems are common. My second patrol leaving Iraq, I dropped a 70-pound tank hatch on my head and bit through my lip. Later in my deployment, I was the passenger in no less than 5 car accidents and 2 rollovers. I had an IED detonate 5 feet from me and a mortar land 15 feet away from me. And the only screening that I received for traumatic brain injury was the hearing check that I received on March 18th that I initiated myself. Traumatic brain injury has been called the hallmark injury of the Iraq and Afghanistan war. Unfortunately, the military's red tape and underfunding of the VA has left hospitals under-equipped to cope with patients, to screen and cope with patients with traumatic brain injury. Currently, there is no system-wide push to develop an adequate screen for traumatic brain injury or a system of tracking soldiers who have been afflicted with traumatic brain injury. As I said with post-traumatic stress, when DoD drops the ball, the issue quickly becomes a problem for the VA. Studies by Columbia and Harvard said this is going to cost billions of dollars for Congress later down the line. I cannot impress upon the members of this committee enough that we need to get a handle on traumatic brain injury. It will take true leadership, like the members here, to push the entrenched bureaucracies of the Department of Defense and the VA to take this issue seriously. We must start screening soldiers for TBI the moment they get home, even the soldiers that have come back. We must develop a system for tracking those soldiers, and we must ensure that the care these soldiers receive is worthy of the service of their service in this country. Thank you so much for the opportunity.